At approximately 8:15 this morning, there was a steel structural collapse here at Bryant University at a facility under construction that's called the Indoor Practice Facility. They just started construction on it. They were erecting steel. Something happened at the site, and the steel structure that was in place fell over. We're not sure why that happened. It's under investigation at this time. When we received the call, we responded up here, the fire department, police department. Our first arriving apparatus called for additional rescues. We called in what we call a level 1 response, which immediately gets us 5 more EMS rescue vehicles, and then we called a couple more after that. Ultimately, we transported 6 patients to Rhode Island Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And I'm going to let Captain Jonathan Pollock, our EMS coordinator, just quickly explain what type of injuries they had.
Chief, it's seltzer, spelled like the water.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
So this is one of several projects on our campus. There was some confusion earlier. There's a different strength and conditioning center that opened in August. That's adjacent to Bulldog Stadium. This facility is an indoor practice facility, essentially a covered turf field, so that our varsity, intramural, and club athletes can practice out of the weather 365 days a year.
Can you comment on how far along it was?
We broke ground in May, and the building was slated to be completed in January 2016. So,
do you know what the square footage is of the building?
It's 120 yards of covered turf. I'd have to look up the exact square footage of that.
What were you going to use it for? Was it lacrosse?
All of the sports that practice, lacrosse, field, men's and women's lacrosse, field hockey. As I said, all of the club and intramural sports. Bryant has 22 varsity teams and many club and intramural teams.
Because the general student population is not here yet, correct?
No, our classes begin next week, and so the only students who are here right now are some of our student athletes and some of the international students who were moving in early.
And no one would have been near this facility?
No one would have been near this facility.
Is there anything else over there, or is that that site separate from any other equipment or facilities, buildings?
That's separate from any other facilities. The other ones are concentrated. As I said, the Strength and Conditioning Center is adjacent to the stadium, and there's an Academic Innovation Center that is more towards the central part of campus.
So, Liz, explain again, this was an indoor practice facility?
Indoor practice facility. It is essentially a covered turf field.
Okay, and you said it differentiates from another structure that was just built?
So there is a Strength and Conditioning Center that just opened August 10th, and that's entirely separate.
And it's steel construction, it's not a bubble. So I know some of these turf fields have a bubble, but this is steel girder construction.
Correct.
Was it the same contractor that did both?
Different contractor.
Had you ever used this contractor before?
Yes.
No issues with them before?
No issues.
Where are they out of, do you know?
Boston.
Boston.
Do you have an estimated price of the indoor turf facility? Do you know how much it's expected to cost?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Does somebody here know?
It's probably on our website, actually. I just don't have it off the top of my head.
So, I mean, obviously this is just unfolding. What will happen to this project at this point? I mean, are you going to move forward with it?
So it's the chief's jurisdiction, but essentially the construction will be paused during the period while the investigation is ongoing. And then a determination will be made based on the outcome of that investigation.
Whether you move forward with it? Do you plan ultimately to move forward?
We plan ultimately to move forward with it, but pending the findings of that investigation, obviously there may need to be some adjustments made.
Can you tell us what we would have seen yesterday? What did it look like? How far up was it? We see all the steel tipped over. Was it all upright?
So we have some digital images online. That you can find. Essentially, it's a dome.
Okay.
And it is...
And that dome was already in place?
They were in the process of putting it up.
So when he says they were up about 30 feet, were they putting the roof
steel framing that the roof would later go on top of. So the steel framing, because they've only been working on that probably a couple of weeks.
Is there a sense that that collapses now? You're going to have to start from scratch. I mean, it looks that way.
Well, a lot of the work was the preparation of the site, so not truly from scratch, because the clearing and the drainage issues, all of that occurred in the spring and the early part of summer.
And so when you say construction started in this,
So we
That
broke
was spring.
ground in May.
broke ground in May, and you've been putting up the steel structure since May?
No.
No.
The clearing and the site preparation
That's
came
what
first.
started
So,
May.
right.
That site work.
So
Right.
when did steel actually come to site? you
Just
know?
within the last, I would say, 10 days.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of OSHA inspectors and that sort of thing, had they been on scene before? Have you had ongoing sort of
The
inspections?
fire chief is really the expert in that.
Okay.
I know you have a lot of other projects on campus right now. Anything else being paused, or does everything else go on as scheduled?
No, everything else is continuing. We have 5 other projects going on. As I said, the Strength and Conditioning Center just opened, and then the other 4 are this one, an academic innovation center, a building that we have for campus in Zhuhai, China, actually, and a building on a campus in Zhuhai, China. And there's an addition to the Chase Athletic Center is the 4th one.
And was Bond Brothers doing any of those?
No, each one is managed by a different contractor.
President Makeley has been notified.
Mhm.
Is he here?
I spoke with him earlier this morning.
Did he have any comments or anything?
He's just very grateful that the scope of the injuries was not any more significant, and are concerned for the workers. We very much are awaiting the results of the investigation so that we can determine the cause of the collapse, and want to make sure that every precaution is taken for the safety of the workers before we proceed.
I know this isn't a student-related issue, but do you have a message to the students, or what have you told the students? About anything?
I haven't told them anything yet. Really pending the outcome of what the investigation reveals to us, then we'll decide about how we proceed accordingly.